Okay, we seriously have to talk about Mexico, because where are the people who said this team had nothing?
Can't let it slip when it's all in my grip. Talking too much, you probably not it. All that I did, calls I missed, time I spent, yeah.
Where are the people who said Mexico were arriving at their own World Cup with more doubts than weapons?
Los mexicanos quieren ser nosotros y no pueden. No les da, no pueden. No...
El Tri just shut half the world up. First, they got the win they needed against South Africa to remove the stage fright of playing a World Cup at home. Then, they beat a South Korea side many believed would run straight through them. And then came their most complete World Cup performance since Russia 2018. That win against Czechia was not just another victory, it was historic, because Mexico confirmed so many things at once. First, they confirmed themselves as the best defence of the World Cup. El Tri finished the entire group stage without conceding a single goal, joining a very exclusive list of teams that achieved a perfect first round without allowing a goal. Netherlands in 1974, Brazil in 1986, Italy in 1990, Argentina in 1998, and Uruguay in 2018. But this Mexico is not just defence. The Mexican national team also scored 6 goals in the group stages, including a 3-0 demolition of Czechia. And with that result, Mexico joined another special group, teams outside UEFA and CONMEBOL that have beaten a European side by a heavy scoreline at a World Cup. The United States did it against Belgium in 1930, Nigeria did it against Bulgaria in 1994, Morocco did it against Scotland in 1998, and now Mexico have done it against Czechia. But the biggest record is even crazier. For the first time in their entire World Cup history, Mexico finished a group stage with a perfect record. 3 matches, 3 wins, 9 points, 6 goals scored, 0 goals conceded.
Brasil le hubiera encantado arrancar con 6 puntos. A Marruecos juega muy bien, le hubiera gustado tener ahora 6 puntos. A Uruguay, lo quedaría por tener 6 puntos. Bélgica, lo quedaría por tener 6 puntos. España, lo quedaría por tener 6 puntos. Tenemos 6 puntos.
And as hosts, that made them only the second home nation in World Cup history to win every group stage match, after Italy in 1990. Even more importantly, Mexico became the only country outside UEFA and CONMEBOL to ever do it at a World Cup. That is not normal. That is not luck. That is not just momentum, that is a statement. And at the center of it all is Javier Aguirre.
Así es, buenas noches. Sí, irrefutable lo de Javier Aguirre, extraordinario, de menos a más. Qué padre que el fútbol provoque todo esto.
El Vasco has already made history with the Mexican national team in this World Cup, becoming the Mexican manager with the most wins in World Cup history, with El Tri reaching 6 victories. But the scary part is that Aguirre is not doing this with smoke and mirrors. He has a squad that can genuinely compete with anyone. Don't believe me? Take a look at this. Start with Gilberto Mora. In his first World Cup start against Czechia, he played like the stage was not too big for him. He showed incredible personality, played with a maturity that makes no sense for his age, and was decisive in 2 of Mexico's 3 goals, with precise passes, perfect timing, and the kind of decision-making you expect from a veteran, not a 17-year-old carrying a nation's creative hopes. The stage did not scare him, his legs did not shake, he did not hide, he did not play safe. He responded like a footballer with years of experience at the highest level. Mexico have a jewel in their hands. And the scary part is that this was not just one good game. Just 2 years ago, Gilberto Mora was making his Liga MX debut. 1 year ago, he was lifting the Gold Cup with Mexico, starting all 3 knockout stage matches, and producing an assist at the level of something you would expect from Lionel Messi. Then he went to the Under-20 tournament and looked levels above almost everyone on the pitch, finishing with 3 goals and 2 assists. And now, at just 17 years old, he has already produced 10 goals and 2 assists at professional level with Club Tijuana. South Africa could not control him. Czechia could not control him either. But Mexico is not just Morita. In goal, they have Raul Tala Rangel. 3 matches, 3 clean sheets, a monster tournament from the Chivas goalkeeper. Tala Rangel has achieved something no Mexican goalkeeper had ever done before, keeping Mexico's goal untouched through an entire World Cup group stage. And this is not a coincidence either. In 17 matches with the national team, he has already kept 13 clean sheets. And then there is Guillermo Ochoa, a true legend, a goalkeeper whose World Cup story already belongs to Mexican football history. And honestly, the patch FIFA gave him does justice to everything he represents. Because even if Tala Rangel is the man of the moment, Memo Ochoa still impacts the heart of this dressing room. His experience matters, his voice matters, his presence matters. He is not just another player in this squad, He is one of the symbols of Mexican football. In front of them, Mexico have Cesar Montes and Johan Vázquez, the defensive wall of El Tri. And again, this level is not random. This central defensive partnership won the bronze medal at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, and they already had a run of 7 matches together as starters without conceding a goal. That is chemistry. That is understanding. That is a real defensive foundation. And on the flanks, Mexico also have serious weapons. Mateo Chavez has already become the youngest Mexican player to score a World Cup goal, and what a goal it was. Israel Reyes is practically closed with Roma. Jorge Sanchez and Jesus Gallardo are also having a World Cup more than worthy of recognition. Then you look at the midfield, and the story gets even better. Eric Lira gives Mexico balance as a double pivot. His coverage and ball recovery allow the centre-backs to step out with confidence. And honestly, his defensive awareness looks like something that could belong at a major European club. Next to him is Edson Alvarez, El Machín. With Mexico, he transforms into a wall, a guard dog, a player who hunts every loose ball like his life depends on it. But that is still not everything. Obed Vargas has already shown he can change matches. His ball recovery, carrying and build-up play are at the level of the club he represents. Atletico Madrid. Brian Gutierrez is magical, and that is exactly why a French giant wants him. And then Mexico have 2 naturalized players who not only add quality, but genuinely feel the shirt. This World Cup is becoming Julian Quiñones' tournament. 2 goals in 3 matches, and right now he looks like Mexico's most dangerous attacking player. And this is not a surprise. Quiñones was the player who beat Cristiano Ronaldo to the scoring title in Saudi football with 33 goals. Quiñones means goals. Then there is Alvaro Fidalgo, the Real Madrid Academy product who came to Mexico, conquered the country with a 3-peat at Club America, and is now giving all that talent to the national team. He has even scored a golazo in this World Cup. Piojo Alvarado deserves massive respect too. His sacrifice has been ridiculous. He is a two-way machine, a proper tank, giving Mexico positional advantages both in defense and attack. And up front, Mexico have options everywhere. Hormiga Gonzalez, back-to-back top scorer in Mexican football and wanted by European clubs. Alexis Vega and Chino Huerta, 2 wingers with creativity and ideas. Memote Martinez, a substitute with real goal threat. Raúl Jiménez, the wolf who finally scored at a World Cup. And Santi Jiménez, the Mexican striker Arne Slot once admitted, was the best player he had coached in the Eredivisie, now a centre-forward for AC Milan. Injuries have limited him, yes, but when Santi comes on, you can feel the difference. He has link-up play, he has movement, he has class. So, yes, we seriously have to talk about this Mexico. Because this is not a team arriving at its own World Cup just to survive the pressure. This is a team with the best defence in the tournament, a perfect group stage. 6 goals scored, 0 conceded, a historic manager, a generational talent in Gilberto Mora, a goalkeeper in ridiculous form, a defensive wall, midfield balance, dangerous wingers, naturalised stars who feel the badge, and strikers who can change a match in different ways. Mexico are not just dreaming about making history at their own World Cup, they are starting to look capable of doing it. But to understand why this Mexico team is creating so much hope, you first need to understand what football means in Mexico. Mexico are not just another national team. Mexico are a football nation, and Mexico have never lacked stars. They had Hugo Sanchez, one of the greatest strikers in Real Madrid history, winner of 5 consecutive league titles, 5-time Pichichi, European Golden Boot, and the first Mexican superstar truly feared in Europe. They had Rafael Marquez, the Kaiser of Michoacán, 2-time Champions League winner with Barcelona, 4-time league champion, leader, captain, and one of the most elegant defenders CONCACAF has ever produced. A player who captained Mexico across 5 World Cups. They had Chicharito Hernández, Mexico's all-time top scorer, Premier League champion with Manchester United, Champions League finalist, and a striker who also played for Real Madrid.
They've worked it well for Ronaldo. Hernández!
And Bayer Leverkusen.
Has time to roll it past the keeper, all he needs to do.
They had Cuauhtémoc Blanco, maybe the player who best represents the soul of the Mexican fan. Talent, street football, personality, provocation, creativity, and character. They had Jared Borghetti, one of the best headers of his generation. Jorge Campos, a one-of-a-kind goalkeeper, spectacular, colourful, and even capable of playing as a striker. Antonio Carvajal, the first footballer to play in 5 World Cups. Guillermo Ochoa, who turned World Cup nights into legendary performances. Andres Guardado, a symbol of leadership and consistency. And Luis Hernandez, whose 4 goals at France 1998 made an entire generation believe. So Mexico have never been small. Mexico have idols. Mexico have identity, and Mexico have history. They hosted the 1970 World Cup and reached the quarter-finals. They hosted again in 1986 and reached the quarterfinals again. They won the 1999 Confederations Cup by beating Brazil in one of the greatest nights in Mexican football history. They won Olympic gold in London 2012. Dominated CONCACAF for decades and produced players capable of competing in Europe, at World Cups and on the biggest stages. But that same history also carries deep wounds, because despite the passion, the stars and the great moments, Mexico have never reached a World Cup semi-final. In 1986, they lost on penalties to West Germany. In 1994, they fell in the round of 16 against Bulgaria. In 1998, they were beating Germany, but ended up eliminated. In 2002, they had a huge opportunity against the United States and let it escape. In 2006, Maxi Rodriguez broke Mexican hearts with one of the most painful goals in World Cup history. In 2010, Argentina eliminated them again. In 2014, Mexico were minutes away from knocking out the Netherlands until everything collapsed at the end. And in 2018, after beating Germany in one of the most iconic matches in their history, Brazil sent them home again in the round of 16. 7 straight World Cups, 7 consecutive eliminations in the round of 16. Then came Qatar 2022, where Mexico did not even survive the group stage. For the first time in decades, the problem was no longer the famous 5th match. The problem was getting out of the first round. And outside the World Cup, there were more painful blows. The 7-0 against Chile. In the Copa America Centenario, finals lost to the United States. And the constant feeling that Mexico had passion, history, and talent, but not enough football to take the final step. That is why this team feels different. This team are giving arguments. A manager who understands the weight of this shirt, a goalkeeper in ridiculous form, a solid defensive wall, a midfield that balances, recovers, and connects, naturalised players who are deciding matches, and a generational talent like Gilberto Mora, who at 17 years old looks born for this stage. That is why Mexico feel dangerous right now, because for the first time in a long time, this story is not being built only on passion, not only on hope, not only on memories. This time Mexico have arguments. So why can Mexico produce the best World Cup campaign in their history? First, people are underestimating the power of playing at home. Mexico reached the quarterfinals in the 2 World Cups they hosted, in 1970 and 1986. And even in recent tournaments, host nations have used that energy to go further than expected. Russia reached the quarterfinals in 2018.
Not stopped. Dennis Cheryshev!
South Korea finished 4th in 2002.
Return. Field for handball.
Home advantage matters. But this is not only about the crowd. Since the last World Cup, Mexico have won 2 Gold Cups.
Now from the free kick, whipped in, the header, back post!
And the latest Nations League. In 2026, they have played 8 matches, won 6, drawn 2, and lost none, with 15 goals scored and only 2 conceded. That is not noise, that is form. Mexico are now a top 9 FIFA-ranked nation, even above Germany. And Javier Aguirre gives this team something priceless: experience. El Vasco knows World Cups. He understands pressure. He understands ugly games. He understands when a team has to suffer, when it has to press, and when it has to close the door.
Bueno, pues hay días en los que es difícil tener todo a tu favor. Y bueno, intentamos hoy que no estuviera todo en nuestra contra.
And that is exactly what Mexico have shown. Against South Africa, Mexico did not just win 2-0, they dominated from the start and understood the opponent's weakness. South Africa wanted to build from the back, so Mexico attacked them there. Raul Jimenez did not press just to run. He closed the goalkeeper's passing lane. Eric Lira jumped on the second pass. Mexico recovered high, and Julian Quiñones scored. That was not luck. That was a goal from a game plan. Then against South Korea, the match was completely different. Korea had phases of possession, but Mexico did not panic. They did not press like mad. They did not leave spaces. They accepted a difficult first half and played like a mature team. In previous years, Mexico could have been dragged by emotion, the pressure of being hosts, the need to win, the atmosphere, the obligation. But against Korea, they stayed calm. Romo's goal came from a Quiñones cross, a Jimenez duel with the defense, and a mistake from the Korean goalkeeper. But what mattered most came after that. Mexico did not break. Mexico protected the result without losing threat. That is maturity. And against Czechia, Mexico showed something even more important. They won 3-0 with an alternative team. That matters massively, because it was not only the starters responding. Mateo Chavez, Gilberto Mora, Fidalgo, Romo, Guillermo Martinez, Santi Jimenez and Obed Vargas all showed that Mexico have answers beyond the first 11. And the second goal explains why Gilberto Mora is so special. Mexico recover near their own box. The ball comes to Mora. He lifts his head, drives forward, attracts pressure, and plays a vertical pass to Jorge Sanchez that changes the speed of the attack completely. In seconds, Mexico go from defending to hurting the opponent. The move ends with rebounds inside the box, and another goal for Quiñones. That is what Mora gives Mexico. A vertical pass between lines, a young brain, interior acceleration. At 17, he came on against South Africa in a World Cup opener and did not hide. Against Czechia, he started and helped Mexico attack faster. And this is not new. In the Gold Cup semi-final against Honduras, he assisted Jimenez with a pass that looked Messi-esque. In the final against the United States, he played with ridiculous personality. Now he is doing it at a World Cup. And he even said it himself, Mexico are here to become world champions. That sounds crazy. Until you watch the football, because Mora is not alone. Piojo Alvarado has been one of Mexico's most important players in this tournament. 2 assists, endless running, defensive sacrifice, constant pressure, good decisions and real quality from the right. If you do not understand Piojo's value, you do not understand this Mexico. The Mora-Piojo duo is helping Mexico avoid becoming flat. Mora gives them brain, vertical passing, and interior speed. Piojo gives them width, pressing, crosses, sacrifice, and continuity. Together they give Mexico a way to attack without losing order. And in knockout football, that is massive. Then there is Julian Quiñones. 2 goals in 3 matches. Quiñones is not a fixed winger. He moves, attacks spaces, appears inside, receives wide, breaks lines and forces the opponent to adjust. And after all the criticism he received for choosing Mexico, football is giving the answer. He built his life in Mexico, grew as a footballer in Mexico, built a Mexican family and chose this shirt with conviction. The same feeling now exists with Alvaro Fidalgo. Fidalgo once shared a picture pointing to the Mexico badge with a phrase that said, "And when you choose it, it never lets you go." And now he is proving it. There were moments when he stopped being considered by the national team. Many stopped believing, but those who followed him knew he only needed one chance. Against Czechia, he came on for Mora and produced maybe the best 20 minutes by a Mexican player in this World Cup. Danger, combinations with Alvarado, and a brilliant goal. That goal also involved Santi Jimenez, because Raúl Jimenez and Santi are giving Mexico different things. Raúl is the striker who gives structure. He presses, pins centre-backs, attacks crosses, makes diagonal runs and appears well positioned in the box. Santi, meanwhile, is closing games and keeping Mexico dangerous when Raúl goes off. Against Czechia, he received from Alvarado, shot like a proper number 9, forced the rebound, and Fidalgo finished. And if Raúl Jimenez is not there, or Santi Jimenez is not there, then Mexico still have Hormiga González, the back-to-back top scorer in Mexican football. That is why this team is dangerous. Mexico do not only have an 11, they have responses. And then there is the defense. Mexico did not concede a single goal in the entire group stage. Raúl Tala Rangel has conceded only 2 goals in his last 7 matches with Mexico, with 6 clean sheets. The Chivas goalkeeper is the second player with the most accurate long passes among every footballer at the World Cup, after 2 matches played and after completing every single minute on the pitch. That is what makes this so important. Mexico had not had a goalkeeper this secure in years, and this defensive solidity did not appear from nowhere. Johan Vázquez and César Montes had already built a brutal run with Mexico. 7 matches together as starters, 7 clean sheets. Together they won knockout matches, closed Gold Cup games and lifted a final without conceding a goal. They are not just 2 centre-backs, they are a defensive partnership that already knows how to play big matches without breaking. So yes, Mexico can dream. Not because of speeches, not because of marketing, not because of nostalgia. Mexico earned this conversation on the pitch. 3 wins. Zero goals conceded, a defence that does not break, a midfield that protects the team, young players with personality, naturalised players who feel the badge, forwards with different profiles, and a manager who knows exactly what kind of World Cup this is. Mexico are not just hoping to make history anymore, they are starting to look like a team capable of doing it.